Hello, it's a beautiful day, right? In any part of the world that you're in, I want to believe it's a beautiful day. Welcome to EstiQ Media. We're on YouTube, Spotify, TuneIn, and of course, Amazon. So all you need to do is subscribe, all right? Specifically on YouTube. And of course, on Spotify, all you need to do is to download all of our contents, and so long as you get yourself intellectually edified on what we have right on that particular channel. My name is Esther Wachukwu. I want to say Happy New Year to you. It's 2024 and welcome to my podcast or virtual cast, whichever way it is that you're watching or listening to this from. Well, like I said, 2024 has already begun. A lot of interesting activities and a lot of events are already unfolding. You don't want to be left out of it. However, let's look at what will be taking shape on the political scene across the globe. All right, and it's set to witness a surge in global elections with a significant portion of the population actively participating in the democratic selection of leaders. Okay, so over 30 nations are gearing up for presidential elections, highlighting diverse political transitions, while 20 countries are preparing for parliamentary elections, adding to the dynamic democratic landscape worldwide. So, observers are raising cautionary signals regarding the potential risk associated with disinformation and manipulation of electoral processes through artificial intelligence. In fact, there is so much we need to talk about concerning this. But one of the important things is I would expect you to follow up on this page. So I will give you an up-to-date analysis and scenario on how most of these elections be taking place across the globe in their order of significance. Let's start off with Trump. Of course, he's been in the news lately, and you do know that, right? Well, apparently, in November 5th, 2024, just this year, before 2024 rounds up, the presidential race in America will witness a lot of Americans selecting their next leader in a potentially consequential competition. Right now, former President Donald Trump is vying for a return to the White House despite confronting 91 felony counts. You do know that Donald Trump is going through a lot of issues, right? Specifically with the fact that you know how it was at the Capitol when he was the president before he left, before Donald Trump's administration. No, not Donald Trump, rather Joe Biden, before Joe Biden's administration, where a lot of persons, based on the order from Donald Trump, thronged the capital city, the White House. They broke glasses, they stole a lot of things. It was a very pivotal moment in the United States. Nobody ever saw such a dramatic event unfolding in that part of the world, considering that that is the seat of democracy. Mostly, most democratic dispensations, most countries that are practicing democracy are literally is a reflection of the kind of democracy practiced in the United States. So when we saw that, we're like, really, can this kind of thing happen in the whole United States of America? Well, apparently, Trump seems to be garnering support. There's a lot of people who actually want the Trump vaccine back on. So here is it. Now, regarding what is going on concerning the fact that is a dynamic democratic landscape worldwide, which a lot of people will be watching, observers are also raising cautionary signals concerning the potential risk associated with disinformation that may come up as the elections and the campaign processes, continues to unfold, and how the process, kind of carries a wave on its own. So we need to be careful with the kind of information we'll digest in that regard. Now, the question is, could Trump and Biden face off again? That's the question a lot of people are asking. Can they ever face off again? It's a potential that we need to consider. And another important thing to also look at, because if you want to consider a lot of these machinations and a couple of strategies, political strategies that will be employed in the process, specifically by these candidates who are vying for in the 2024 elections, I would say it's a dramatic event that we want to watch and follow up on. So we do know that the upcoming November 5th, 2024 presidential race will definitely witness Americans selecting their next leader in a potentially consequential competition. Former President Donald Trump is vying for a return to the White House despite confronting 91 felony counts, and surveys are indicating that many voters believe Joe Biden, the Democratic incumbent, is too old for the role of commander in chief. However, he faces minimal opposition within his party for the Democratic nomination, maintaining a strong position in the political landscape. So we're going to see how that unfolds. Well, disinformation looks set to be a feature of the campaign. It's usually like that when it comes to the presidential elections in America. You see a lot of personal details about the candidates who are vying for the number one seat there all over the media space. Several news outlets, you will see some very sensitive personal details about these individuals be leaked to the press, and that would determine their features, that would determine how people would either, support or empathize with their profile or distance themselves based on how such intimate personal information about these individuals affect or rubs off on the people who may want to show them support. That's something that we'll have to look forward to while the process commences. Well, another thing to also consider is the fact that Trump emerged as the runway front runner among Republican candidates since the beginning of its nomination contest, recently scoring a landslide win in Iowa. So, despite the 91 felony counts against Trump, I don't know who his supporters are, but they are strong, they're vibrant, they're pessimistic. They want Trump to come back to the United States of America. There are a lot of people who believe that Joe Biden's reign is so flexible to laid back, and that America does not have the power that it used to have in the international space compared to when it was Trump's time, and there was this supposed strong forte that the Americas presented with their international counterparts. So that's basically what a lot of people feel, that America looks weak or seems weak, specifically with their support on the Gaza Israel war, specifically supporting Israel. All right. So another thing to also look into is the fact that coming down to Russia is the fact that will Putin want to also contest again despite his recent war with Ukraine since 2023, the beginning of 2023. Russia and Ukraine have been at a serious war and affected the global economic space. It's a terrible one, we can tell, both in trade, in employment, in security. It affected most of these prominent sectors. Well, leveraging his asserted control in the Ukraine war 2 years following Moscow's invasion, Russian President Vladimir Putin aims to extend his 24-year rule by an additional 6 years through the March elections. Well, it's going to be a pursuit for a fifth term to be the leader of Russia, and Putin seeks to maintain his presidency until 2030. A constitutional amendment in 2020 provides the theoretical possibility of him staying in power until 2036, potentially exceeding the extended rule of Joseph Stalin. The conflict in Ukraine serves as a tool for quashing dissent and silencing opposition, presenting minimal hindrance to Putin's ambitions. Notably, his long-standing adversary, opposition leader Alexei Navalny, is currently serving a 19-year prison sentence. Okay, so let's come down, all right, to another interesting candidate on the global space who would be giving us something to look into, and that is India's Narendra Modi. Now, in April to May this year, almost 1 billion Indian citizens will participate in the polls as the world's most populous nation heads to the elections. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his nationalist BJP party aim for a third term. Modi's political trajectory and achievements have relied on backing from India's vast Hindu population exceeding 1 billion. Critics argue that his success involves feeling discord towards a sizable Muslim minority in the country. I'm sure we've been following up what's going on in Israel. Well, let's see how this would affect his next ambition, which is to come up in April, May this year. We're talking about the elections that to take place across the globe this year, 2024. Now, despite a tightening grip on civil liberties during his tenure, he enters the electoral contest as the undisputed frontrunner. His supporters attribute his success to elevating his nation's global standing. Interesting way to actually look at that. Let's go down to Mexico. The upcoming June elections there presents a historic opportunity for the country to elect its first woman president potentially. Two notable candidates, a leftist former mayor of the capital and a businesswoman with indigenous roots, aims to break new ground in a nation with a tradition of machismo. Interesting. The contest is viewed as a two-horse race with former Mexico City Mayor Claudia Sheinbaum running on behalf of outgoing President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador's Morena party and Xochitl Galvez representing the opposition coalition, the Broad Front for Mexico, emerging as the primary contenders. All right. Now we're going to be looking across the European landscape, where June will witness the world's largest transnational election with over 400 million eligible voters participating in the European Parliament election. This electoral event serves as a crucial test for the right wing populists who are gaining momentum following Geert Wilder's anti Islam, anti EU PVV Freedom Party's triumph in the Dutch elections last November, and Giorgia Meloni's far right brothers of Italy securing victory last year. However, Brussels can find encouragement in Poland, where former European Council President Donald Tusk has returned to power, championing a steadfastly pro EU agenda. So, all across the globe, we're seeing the power tussle ongoing, we're seeing elections taking place, we're seeing mandates change, we're seeing focal points be presented in a different format to elicit support. We're also seeing how migrant laws could change the landscape, specifically in the United States of America. The tight race between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. One is to how that will go. And of course, the Israel Gaza war could be a either positive pivotal moment for Joe or a negative one. It all depends on how the people are able, how he and his team are able to present him amidst of the policies that he may introduce. We also know about the United Kingdom as well. We see Rishi Sunak also trying to put in and mediate in policies that will elevate the status of the UK, and one of them is the migrant laws. The migrant policy has already been implemented. A lot of people are against it. So the question is, will his party continue to remain steadfast? Will they be popular with the policies being implemented, or are we going to see a lot of people not supporting the policies or the implementations of Rishi Sunak, and how that will also help the party in the long run? Or are we going to see Rishi Sunak be asked to leave if whatever it is he's trying to implement that would negatively affect the UK economy? If it does negatively affect the UK economy, there is a tendency that Rishi Sunak may not be there for a long time, just like we have two other prime ministers who have been asked to step down. So it's quite an interesting scenario to look forward to in 2024 across the globe. So make sure that you subscribe, like, share, comment. I want to know what your perception is. Specifically, can you give your prediction on the elections in the United States? In as much as it's still early in the year, the elections are supposed to come up on November 2024. And a lot will happen between now and then, but it's not bad if we begin to predict who will win these elections in one of the great cities in the world that actually defined democracy. You have yourselves a wonderful day. Bye for now.